Hello, everybody. So yeah, we're getting really close to the end here. We've kind of covered most of the main topics for the course. So what I had in mind the last couple of classes periods here, I guess they're tonight and then the two next week, is just some kind of random odds and ends, things that I thought might be useful for you. Along those lines, if you have anything you'd like me to go over, if you'd like me to put together a regular lecture on something in particular for one of the days next week, just send me an email. Let me know what you would like for me to kind of cover in class and go over that. Because yeah, for the next couple class periods, just kind of some odds and ends, things that I thought might be useful as you progress through the IT education and then beyond. So to start off with is that point I just made about having covered most of our stuff. I'm going to share my screen. Well, I'll go ahead and share this. First off, here's a YouTube video that earlier this afternoon, this was just kind of on the recommended videos list. It's a short video, it's like 10 minutes long, going over in very good, very nice detail, going over how the processors are made, how chips are made, basically in general, processing silicon into something that can function, can perform the functions for us. So I just saw that a little while ago and thought, well, that might be a good video to share. I was going to share it at the end, but it's sitting here, so might as well go ahead and throw that up there. If you all want to watch that later. My plan was to share that at the end as something to watch during lab time, but it's there in the chat room if you want to copy that link. The first thing on my list here is something that I talked about the first day when we looked at the syllabus. And it's something I always like to point out at the beginning and then remind you about as we get near the end. Which hopefully it won't take too long here, but ISU uses the same logins. So I've found that I can't stay logged in. Otherwise it messes up the other account and starts doing unpredictable things. It's like really strange. A company like Microsoft should realize people have more than one account. Because it's the Outlook sign-in, which is something we're going to talk about here in a moment. Almost there. Only just a couple more clicks to go. So there's our course. Oh, the fall courses are, well, I can already see my fall courses. You all won't see yours till the weekend before, but that is coming up soon. So just a reminder, seeing that on the screen seems like a good place to push the reminder that to register for the fall. Make sure you want to register sooner rather than later. Sometimes classes fill up. That hasn't happened as much lately. Enrollment's been kind of down, so the problem is that classes get canceled. If you wait till the last minute to register for classes, a week or so before classes start, the deans are going to start going through, deans and other administrators are going to start going through and canceling the classes that don't have enough people in them. Usually, but well, like as y'all are well aware, this class ran with only 4 people. So maybe they're changing the numbers on that and stuff, but that often happens. So you want to register sooner rather than later. Pick your classes for the fall. But as far as our class, oh, it slowed down again. All right, I can see the button I'm going to now. All right, so we talked about this on the first day of class. Went over the syllabus, all the key information. You'll get see a syllabus in every single one of your classes, and every syllabus will have this section, the course outline of record, which just kind of lists out the general information about the course, a quick description of it. But in that, there's also this section right here, major course learning objectives. And this is the one that's really important because, well, the name kind of says it all. This is the stuff we're supposed to learn in the course. So you always want to look at this list. Obviously, it's in the syllabus, so you're going to see it at the beginning. But as you get near the end of the course, you always want to look back at this list and make sure you feel okay with all the stuff that's on that list, because that's what you're supposed to learn out of the course. And a lot of times, courses are prerequisites for other courses. So as you move into that other course, so a lot of times it might be the one you're more interested in taking, they're going to start out expecting you to know everything that was on the list of learning objectives from the prerequisite courses. So as you get near the end of every course, like every single course at college is going to have a syllabus, and on that syllabus there'll be the course outline of record, COR, and there will be the major learning objectives. So near the end, you always just want to look through this list and make sure you feel like everything was covered. Let's talk about the nature of information, what it means for humans and what it means for machines, and how do we bridge that gap. And that one's a good example that often these lists are going to be kind of vague. Sometimes you have to stop and think about what that's actually saying with the learning objective. But, you just want to make sure you feel okay with it. Like if somebody kind of asked you about it, you could talk a little bit about the subject or something. But just what information means to humans and machines. That could be a broad summary of what this class was about, right? We talked a little bit about history, hardware basics. I believe for pretty much every single IT-based degree, you will have at least one hardware-specific class. Most people have 2 or 3, and the people doing the hardware degrees specifically are going to have almost all hardware classes. So that's something you're going to see over and over and over again, because that's a place where repetition is important in learning, because the names of all those pieces, they're always acronyms and alphanumeric codes. They're not normal English names. So it takes a little bit of repetition to get used to that, but we kind of saw some of the basics and talked about those a little. Fundamental software applications. I think that's referring to those foundational assignments every week, the Word documents and PowerPoint and spreadsheets and just our basic usage software on computers. But again, these lists are often very vague. We talked a little bit about operating systems and virtualization. Well, I think we briefly mentioned virtualization in class, and then there were several videos in the supplemental section about like setting up VirtualBox and running a Linux system. And while you're learning, keep that in mind, because if you have a virtual machine, you can experiment freely, do whatever you want on it. And if you break it, all you do is delete it and install a new one, as opposed to experimenting freely on your actual machine. If you break it, you might end up having to go buy a new computer. So it's much more economically feasible to break the fake machines, basically. So keep that in mind while you're learning. It can be a valuable tool. We talked a little bit about networking, just a brief introduction to it. Some about the internet, but I think in the modern world, people are familiar with the internet, right? Our class is running across the internet, so you at least have the basic competency of the internet enough to get on the Zoom call every week, right? Web browsers, email, cloud computing. We looked at some of that. I'm pretty sure I've communicated with every single person in the class through an email at least once. I think, trying to think quickly over the last 7 weeks. I'm pretty sure there's been at least one email or some sort of communication with everybody in the class. So it's like we talked about that in class. Storage things, a little bit about the cloud. That was a discussion board last week, I think, maybe the week before. It's been a long couple of days, but at some point recently that was on the discussion board. Information within an organization, that's kind of a big thinking thing, right? That's what we're building up to for the entire degree. Like, we're learning these technical details in the class, but then how are we going to apply them? And that application is much more of a synthesis question. And the synthesis questions are the big ones that, as you build up lots of analytical knowledge and put all those different pieces together, then you can kind of answer the application situation. But hopefully this class helped to get you started on that pathway. Statistics and reporting, I'm taking that one, I took that one to mean just data is important, right? That's seems like a really fancy way to say data is important for a business. We want to be able to get those numbers, and we don't want the raw numbers, right? We don't want to look at the database table. We want to see the results from queries on that table and things like that. Summaries of the data, so we don't have to dig through every bit of it ourselves. Okay. If there's 3 employees at a small company, it's not that bad to keep track of everybody's data. It's still going to add up over time, but if there's 3,000 employees at a company, it's a little harder to keep track of everybody's data. Right? You wouldn't be able to rattle off that data in the normal Monday morning business meeting. So need summaries and statistics, things like averages and medians, the minimum, maximum, important summary information of the data. How can it benefit? How can informatics benefit a company? And that's kind of like that one I was talking about a couple points ago. That seems to be, that's the sort of question that's you'll have an individual answer for it as you progress through and finish your degree and learn more and more about it. That's just, and this class is just kind of pointing you in that direction. Get you started thinking about that. And that way that question, your answer to that question can be refined better and better over time. And then when you're ready to graduate and move into the field, you'll have a really good answer that if you want somebody to hire you in order to handle their IT stuff, you'll have a really good answer of what you're going to bring to the table for them. The importance of security in informatics. That's the hot topic these days. That's what we were talking about the other day. My main comment, suggestion, that sort of thing towards security is it's the hot topic right now. And the hot topic is always going to be quick to change. So what you really want to focus on is make sure you have a really good foundation. Obviously, don't omit details. There's a lot of the security details are very interesting as well. So it's no trouble learning those, but make sure you have that really solid foundation so that as the field shifts back and forth, as new security breaches are unveiled, weak points in security are discovered and patched, and it's going to change quick. So you want to make sure you have a solid foundation to build your knowledge on. So I think looking over that list, I think we kind of covered everything a little, and some of them are kind of just the starting point to those ongoing questions, the things you're going to refine better and better over time. And then when you're ready to go in the field, show up at the interview, you'll have a really good answer to that question of what you're going to bring to the table for a company, that sort of thing. Just kind of starting out, it's an introduction class, but in general, remember to look at that list in every single one of your classes. Make sure you feel like you learned what you were supposed to learn out of the course. And it's not directly listed there, but I know y'all have heard me say it a few times. The way I describe this course is kind of the vocabulary course. A lot of it is watching those videos, read supplemental videos or other videos that you might find, reading through blogs and articles and reviews, and picking up the vocabulary, learning to talk like an IT person. That's an important aspect of the field. So just keep that list in mind as you progress through other courses, and just make sure you're learning what you should be learning. One of those things on that list I just closed was that foundational software basics. Is that how they said it in the list? Something like that, but the core computer usage. So we looked at some of the basic ones, right? Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint. Yeah, I guess those three and a couple other things. Those are the big three, but those aren't the only software that would be really useful for you. The Office software suite has quite a few things. So I wanted to look at that. Look at some other ones there that might be really useful for you. So I'm going to start in Office. Yeah, I'll go to this one, OneNote. Has anybody ever used OneNote? It can be very useful software, very powerful. In a lot of ways, it's going to seem like Whiteboard software, which is on my list to look at in a moment. So OneNote is like bloated, overgrown whiteboard software. So there's a lot of stuff we can do. You can see as it opens, there's just a big blank spot. And that's a great way to summarize what OneNote is. It's blank. It's just a big blank thing that we can work on. So right off the bat, you'll see a little cursor blinking. We can click around with our mouse and type some stuff in. Put some words up here by the little date, or put words here or over here. So you see, like, kind of like PowerPoint, we can, it's not like Microsoft Word where that cursor moves in order and everything's strictly organized like it would be on a sheet of paper going left to right, top to bottom. It's much more open. We can just jump around and put a bunch of stuff in different places, type in some text. Obviously insert pictures and videos, audio things, different symbols, a lot of that stuff. I'll just quickly grab a random picture. Oh, the Zoom thumbnails are in my way. I don't know, if I search for Ivy Tech, does it find anything online? Yeah. So I'll just quickly grab an Ivy Tech logo. Take pictures in there, and you can see that first comparison I made was to PowerPoint in the slide. And well, I guess I probably could have expressed something a moment ago before doing that, but notice when I put that big picture in, this automatically grew. So that's one difference from that first comparison I made, where this will grow to any size we want it. We're not restricted in size. Normal insert stuff. What's really useful is over here in the Draw tab. instead of just typing, we can use the little pins to kind of write stuff. So I just have a little stylus. It works much better with that really nice pen that comes with the Surface. Circle some stuff, write words. I just have a cheap stylus here that's one thing to glitch out. It worked a little bit better when there wasn't a Zoom call running. So write some words. Oh, this little feature is nice. If you're doing stuff drawn by hand, this ink to shape is nice. Because now if I come over here and try to draw a square, it'll turn that into a nicely formatted shape. If I draw a triangle on there, it automatically does that. Draw a circle on there, ellipse, and it'll clean up the shapes and stuff for you while you're drawing. So I guess it's like make your handwriting look a little bit nicer. Like often we can select the items on there, move it around. So really just a big blank spot. So one common thing you'll see in classrooms is like group projects, where you're working with multiple people at once. So that OneNote can be really great for putting notes and stuff, getting the plan together as a group. Everybody can work on the same file and jot down your ideas, and it's just an ever-growing sheet. So it's just really just a big blank spot. You have different pens, highlighters. If that's going to work, yeah. Highlight different things. What's this pen? Yeah, colorful pens and things. And add new pens. That's what this last button is. And just kind of define what your own pens look like. It's definitely software worth messing around with. And unlike the rest of the Office suite, the last 2 or 3 computers I bought before even installing Office, because I usually don't, I use Google Office Suites. I believe that's been mentioned in class before. But OneNote was already always installed. So it's just pretty much on every Microsoft machine. And it's just a big blank spot. You can do whatever you want in there. And one of the math classes I had over at IUS, the instructor, the professor would always, he had a Surface Pro, and instead of putting his notes on the whiteboard, big whiteboard in the class, he would use OneNote on his Surface, and he would put all the notes there and just project it onto the whiteboard. And then as soon as class was done, he would turn that into a PDF and email it to everybody in the class. So that was a really nice use for it. I think I ignored it up until that point, and then realized that it can be very powerful software. So it's definitely one that might be worth your time checking into. Yeah, I just did a quick pass there, but it's, yeah, so you can set up groups and stuff and control access to who sees what on the page. But really, it's a big blank spot. And if you have a big blank spot to work in, your own creativity is your only limitation, right? So OneNote, you may have just constantly overlooked it because, you know, it might seem trivial at first, but there's a lot that can be done there. So definitely high on the list of software to check out. And like I said, the last few computers I've had, that was already turned on even when I didn't turn Office on. So it's always available. There's some other ones in Office that might be useful. I click the button for Office 365. See what else on here. Once the buttons pull up, Should be some buttons over here. There it is. So Word and Excel, PowerPoint, we saw those. Outlook, I wanted to take a look at this, but on Office 365, Outlook is tied to my school account. And well, it's summer. I don't think there's anything there right now, but sometimes in my email, confidential information shows up. So I can't be clicking on that on the video. OneDrive's a useful storage. It's tied to a Microsoft account if you want to set that up, set up all the autosave and stuff. I've never really used SharePoint. Somewhere there was a button for all apps. Oh, down here at the bottom, all apps. You can see some of the other stuff that's on here. Access, calendar apps. I'm gonna look at a couple of them. Most calendars are synced together, so calendars have become kind of standardized. So all your calendars should work together. Be able to tie those together. That's a useful thing to look at. Again, I can't really click on this calendar because I'm not sure what information is on there, but I'll click on my Google Calendar, or actually I'll look at Evolve. That's just like, there's an open source version of something similar to Outlook that I'll pull on another computer. I'll pull up. A little planner thing that can be useful. Oh, and a whiteboard app. I wanted to point at that because I was pointing at a notebook. It is different than a whiteboard. We just looked at it quickly, and I'm pretty sure most whiteboard features have all those things I just pointed at, except for the growing capabilities. They're very useful. So if on your Office 365, if you got that through the school, click that button to see all the apps that are on there, and go in there and click around on them and see what you might find useful, which ones you might find useful, things like that. Since I can't look at Outlook, I'm going to grab another laptop real quick and pull up something similar. I have to sign into the meeting. Pretty sure I have Zoom on here. Yeah. Our number here. 924. Oh, I better mute that. Without video. I think I can still share the screen.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Whoops.
There it is. Okay, sorry about the echo. So I'll share the screen from this one. I think. Oh, there it goes. Okay, so I mentioned Outlook, but again, I can't really open my Outlook account on the video. So I have an open source one here, a popular Linux one. It's been around for a while. It's called Evolution. And I think most basic installs of Linux have this included. Just type in the terminal, type sudo apt-get evolution, and it brings in this. So this is what's called personal information management. Just some very useful software to keep things organized. There's a lot of versions of this. You've probably used all the parts of it, but it's nice to have them all in one place. So you can see here on the buttons, we go down here talking about mail, contacts, task list, just different memo notes, calendar. So things that you're probably well familiar with, but this puts them all into one place, ties them all together. And you don't even have to use this as your initial storage one. So you could use like a Gmail address and the calendar that comes on a MacBook and some third-party task list you found for an Android phone 3 or 4 phones ago or something. And just sync them all back together to this one software. That way everything's in one place. It helps to organize mail. Can I see the buttons if I cancel out of this? Well, all the buttons are kind of grayed out, but there's ways to organize the mail, all the regular email buttons. Yeah, all the buttons are grayed out. But different little things to work with. Put flags on them, color code them, and different organizational things. So, and it's not necessarily restricted to one mailbox either. You can typically on these types of software, you can tie lots of mailboxes together, and just kind of a big organizational thing. And if you downloaded the Office 365 with your school email account, you'll have Outlook, which it's a really nice one of these, and it just, the organization goes a long way, right? We have automated calendars. So like in Ivy Learn, there's that automated calendar where every time there's a homework assignment come due, it's going to be on that calendar. And after you turn it in, it's going to get crossed off. But that's not the only way to look at that calendar. They're standardized. So you could sync it to one of the other calendars, like the calendar here in Evolution that I have pulled up. And I think in this day and age, everybody's probably seen a digital calendar. So you're familiar with what those are going to look like. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but I just wanted to point you towards this software. PIM, Personal Information Management Software. So if you want to go check out some blogs and do some and read reviews and see which ones you think you might like, you want to look for PIM software. Task lists, just general note keeping, but a whole lot of organizational things. And you can think of it like the old school file cabinets, right? They had those big metal file cabinets with all the different drawers, and then we put different folders in them. So the things like your normal email accounts would be like different folders stuck in that file cabinet. So PIM software is sort of like the file cabinet. It ties all these different types of software together, and they're virtually standardized. So you can sync several different ones together and keep track of everything in one place. So very, very useful software. You might want to look into something like that. If you have this one comes on pretty much all Linux systems, but it's open source, so it has that advantage. It's been mentioned a few times in class. As you learn to program, instead of just having the software, you have the source code for the software, so you can customize that and adjust it and make it fit your needs exactly. That can be a really useful thing. Whoops. I didn't mean to click that button just yet. While I'm here, is there other software in here that might? As you go into IT, a good text editor is a nice thing to have. This one right here, Atom. That's it's just basic text, but it'll change colors for different programming languages, like it knows what it's written. This one's free, open source. So it's become a very popular one, very modern look, a lot of functionality for, at least as far as text editors go, right? It's a text editor. It doesn't do that many things. It edits text, but if you're going into IT, you're going to want a nice text editor. It will pay off for you. So that would be a good one to look into. What's some other stuff? I figured I'd look at this, what's here. Looks like I have a bunch of graphic stuff installed right now, which was one of the things I was thinking as far as like odds and ends to kind of cover over these last 2 or 3 class days. I was gonna also look at some graphic software one day, at least a quick pass on it, a few different types of graphics to see some of those. So we'll come back and look at those. But on my Chromebook, my favorite thing about a Chromebook is how easy it is to reset it. So most of the stuff on there right now is graphic software. And because I do that all the time, I just go back to factory resets on the Chromebook and install the next workstation. Like, okay, I'm going to be writing code for a couple days. So I'll bring in a bunch of things. So I'll reset it to factory settings, bring in a bunch of things for writing code. And then when I move on to the next project or whatever I was going to use a Chromebook for, I'll just wipe it back to the factory settings. I really like that, how easy it is to reset those. But yeah, we'll look at graphics software and probably sometime next week. That was one of the things I wanted to mention, because at least do a quick pass, because there's so many types of graphics, right? Nothing too detailed, but at least see a few of them. Let's see, I'll go back to sharing the screen here on my main computer. I had a couple of other things I wanted to look at with Google Office Suite. I guess fitting in that same category of just the useful software, the productivity software, Office suites and things like that. So the little app icon in Google Chrome, if we go to that, oh, thumbnails are in my way. Scroll down, there's some useful ones here. Docs and sheets, we looked at those, and slides. Keep is a really useful one. This is one that I have installed on pretty much every single one of my devices. And there's really not much to it. It's basically the digital versions of Post-it notes. Little, I think everybody's familiar with Post-it notes, right? Little pieces of paper with a little bit of sticky stuff on them, make small notes and just keep that around. It's the digital version of that. So make little notes and color code them. Here's a note. Go ahead and close that. Oops. Yeah, so it's that easy. You just kind of start typing to make a note, or this little, instead of typing, the little square box with a check mark in it, if you click that, you get a list. So item 1, item 2, item 3, and then start typing. So it's like one extra click to start typing, and then you have the little check boxes beside them, so you can cross them off. I find that very useful. And yeah, then obviously a delete button when you're finished with them. Change the colors. You can check that out. So things like the bills that I want to make sure I don't miss every month, there's a list of those. And cross them off when they get paid. And then at the beginning of the month, I guess it's almost the end of the month, I'll go ahead and click that. Just click that, and then the 5 bills that I want to be absolutely sure that I don't miss every month, because I don't want to suddenly have no water, might get thirsty or something. So working across the internet. So that one's very, very critical these days. I want to make sure I don't miss those. So I have a short list of those. Or the grocery list. I'm standing in my kitchen and notice I'm out of something. I can add it to that list immediately. And every single one of my devices, I keep Google Keep On just to have those notes, the same set of notes always accessible. So that's an incredibly useful one. And again, like everything on the Google Office Suite, you can share those. So for like group projects in a class, you can start putting together the ideas and something like that. The digital version of Post-it notes is how I always refer to it. Jamboard, this one's useful. It hasn't shown up in this class. Sometimes this is nice for the classrooms. This is Whiteboard software. Where's the plus sign? Oh, down in the corner. Yeah, so I guess all those very few features we looked at on OneNote are all available here. Well, there's text boxes. So draw in a text box and add text. Draw little shapes. I don't think this has the fancy clean up stuff. Use different markers and stuff. Just sort of a whiteboard thing. Add picturs. This one's kind of useful. This is why I like, when I've used it before, was mostly for this little thing right here. And that's a laser pointer. Kind of like if you were beside a real whiteboard, standing across the room, you can point at it with a laser pointer and see that. So basically just draw lines and then they fade out a split second later. So you can highlight things and not have to worry about coming back and erasing them. Because if I come to the Zoom controls, there's the same annotation. I can draw these lines, but then I have to come back and worry about erasing them. So the laser pointer, stop the annotation on Zoom. The laser pointer is super nice, especially for group project things and working with other people. You meet together, like everything else on Google, you can readily share it with other people. And then the laser pointer is really nice for highlighting. It's like automatically erasing lines. Add in shapes, images, or just pointed at the sticky note. Google Keep is a collection of sticky notes. You can also just make little notes here. And those features are here available, ready to stick to your board. And you just drag them around, and then it's like a whiteboard with little Post-it notes stuck on it. So some very useful features there. Again, something to just kind of click around on, get a feel for it, see if you like it. Try to think of some things you might be able to use it for. Oh, I already closed it. Unlike OneNote, it's more like PowerPoint. There's a blank spot there, but it's only that big. We can't resize it. We can add multiple slides like we would in PowerPoint, but it doesn't automatically grow like OneNote does. OneNote is like bloated whiteboard software. And again, there is a Microsoft version of that as well. LibreOffice might also have a whiteboard. The newest LibreOffice, the one that's not even actually released yet, the beta version, has a whiteboard. But I don't know when that was actually added in, so it might not be in an official release yet, but upcoming releases of it will have that. Last one I had on my list here to look at is forms, and Microsoft Office has a similar thing to this. What's a good way to describe this? I guess it's like surveys, questionnaires. It's going to look a lot like all the multiple choice quizzes you took in Ivy Learn. Very useful software, especially in classrooms. One very common thing which was already mentioned, is those group work projects. Usually those involve a PowerPoint and a speech, and you're going to explain something to the class, and that can be a little bit more interesting when you make it interactive. So things like a little quiz, like if you're giving this speech to your classmates about security, presentation about security, you could include a little questionnaire asking about, to rank like the security level of passwords, or describe different situations and have them fill out these little questions to see what they to see what people know about security going in, and then attack their answers in the speech or something, make them feel more involved in your presentation, that sort of thing. But yeah, multiple choice questions, check boxes, a list of things to choose from, give people a file to upload. But you can kind of see what it is here on this one. And well, I know for certain that you all have seen what questionnaires in digital format look like, right? There's one of those on Ivy Learn every week over this summer course. So just fill out a question. I don't know, some sort of question, and give them options. And please keep adding options. Just general answers to that question. And it gives you a way, especially when giving presentations and speeches in some of your future classes, it doesn't have to be big surveys, just like 3 or 4 questions that people can fill out beforehand, and it makes them, and then address their answers to the question in the speech, and it makes them feel more engaged. So pay a lot more attention to what you're doing. Pay closer attention to it. Or other reasons you might need a form. I guess there's lots of reasons you might want to ask people questions, and you can make it look really nice here. That a lot of things are set up, and it'll give you statistics on the answers and stuff. And then when you're ready, notice that unlike the rest of the Google Office stuff where the button says share, this time we have a send button. So you just fill out a list of people to send it to, and it can be a rather long list. Again, I'm a big believer in actively learning. So software like this, the best way to learn it is just to open it up and click around on it. And though, just like the previous one, that was in the Google Office Suites, which I just grabbed from the browser. When it pulls up the little Google Apps icon over here, and if you scroll down a little, you should see a lot of different things to kind of click on and mess around with. Let's see, 6:49. I was thinking that was going to take a few more minutes than that. Is there another one we can look at real quick? I'll go back to the Office one. Yeah, I was talking about the PIM software. And pretty much every machine we get nowadays is going to have some sort of calendar app and a mail app, probably a task manager on there somewhere. And the PIM software ties all of them together, and not just one account. So like the built-in mail app here on a Windows 10 machine is going to connect to an email account. But if you have some actual PIM software, you can connect it to 10 email accounts and keep everything organized and color-coded and all sorts of nice stuff like that. So it's definitely some good software, useful software to look into. If you have Office 365 in school, you should have Outlook. If not that one, the Outlook Evolution is open source stuff that's been around for a while. It automatically comes on every Linux machine, and there's some other ones. I've never clicked on this one. I have no idea what Delve is. Let's click on that and see what it is. That's the last couple minutes here. I'm going to stop my screen share for just a second because, like I pointed out, I have no idea what this is, and I should probably wait and see what, and it is signing me into my account automatically. So I should check and see what information shows, or if any information already shows there before sharing the screen. Which hopefully is not going to take too long. It's just running through the Duo login now. Oh, another sign in. And okay, not that one. Okay, I'm glad I didn't share my screen there. Yes, that did connect to other people's accounts, and there was things that probably fall under FERPA laws showing right there on the screen. So good thing I decided to realize I was going to share that. Whether know what word it is, I have no word share. Microsoft Project can be very, very useful. You'll probably see this in a few different classes. I'll click on this one just for a quick pass at it. This isn't necessarily my favorite. Actually, I recently built my own because I like to use project management software for putting lectures together. And for every class, figure out what needs to be covered, how much time it's going to take, and as I plan the things out, I like to use that. But it's usually project management software is usually set up for big projects. They're going to take weeks and months, possibly even years. Whereas planning out a lecture, I needed to go minutes, so I kind of had to make my own. But I would often use one called a Gantt project, is what I've been using for years. And then all the security stuff, which those going into security, keep that in mind, that there is that line that where all that access control and authentication, all that stuff does start to become an annoyance and will end up running off, at a business, it will end up running off customers. So we can keep things like that in mind. So I'll go with a new blank project. I've never used the online one here. Oh, well, I guess I don't have this. Well, I'll grab my Chromebook. I thought I had access to all those. Was the whole reason for that. I was planning on talking for about an hour, and looks like it's been 15 minutes. But I do have, well, actually the one that I like is on this other machine. Let's see. Oh, I was hoping it would remember those numbers. Oops, that's not right. This box. Don't need video on. There we go. I remember to mute it before I started talking this time. So I'm going to share the screen here on the Chromebook again. Project management software can be incredibly useful. Depending on where you're heading in IT, you will probably see it somewhere. Some fields use it a lot more than others. In software development, it shows up a lot because there's usually going to be a lot of programmers working on a piece of software. So all that needs organized. But yeah, not just IT. Pretty much any field is going to have projects that need done. Some, it stands out a lot more than others, right? Construction, that's nothing but project after project after project. Engineering, and other times it might just occasionally show up. But the idea of project management software is it ties together the things that we're going to be doing most often. And the two things we do most often, this is a nice strip down one. This is a Gantt project, Gantt, which is a type of, actually it's a type of chart. So I named it after that. But whatever project we're doing in whatever field, one thing we do know about any project is it's going to be composed of resources. That's the people and tools being used to actually do the work, and task, the steps that need done to carry out the project. So for project management software, we would just kind of somewhere on the, obviously all the interfaces are going to look slightly different, but somewhere there's a place to fill out information about it. So like I'll put my name in there, I'll skip my phone number, I'll skip all the contact info, and some sort of role. Document writer, that feels like what I'm doing right now. And carrying out projects usually costs money, right? Maybe not necessarily in the classroom, but in general, there's going to be finances involved. So we need some sort of numbers to put in there. I'll just put like some rate of pay. So that you can see on this resource, so that added that name to the resources chart. And with once we have resources, then we need to set up tasks. So show off project software. So list out what that task is doing, and like when does that task start and when does it end? Or I think if I double click on it, yeah, a bunch of different things about the task. When does it start? How long is it going to take? Maybe that's a 3-day long task. I'll just choose some random color to put here. Other notes, predecessors. Well, I'll get to that one in a second. Resources, like who's going to be working on this task. So yeah, I'll put my name on there, and it fills up a lot of the numbers, and there should be costs showing up somewhere and stuff. I'll do another task just to see what a Gantt chart looks like. I'll do another one. Hold on. Another one, and you can see that it gives like a bar chart showing the length of time each task is going to take. So maybe this is like a 2-day task, and this is where the predecessor task tab comes in. So like what tasks have to be done beforehand. So yeah, that'll probably work for that. Well, there's only one resource, so I'll go ahead and add that. And you can see the bar chart automatically set up so that it shows which tasks have to follow the others, what order they go in. And I thought I had a quick button here for adding tasks. Also, if I click on resources over in the resource tab, you can see that it shows like the schedule. So like this person is assigned to work those days. Maybe I'll add a new resource just to have more than one thing. Well, I thought I clicked the button. It seems to have froze up on me. Probably from the Zoom call. But that's kind of the general idea of it. Every project that we want to carry out is going to be composed of tasks that need to be carried out and resources that will be carrying out those tasks. Go ahead and sign out here. And those resources usually have a cost value included in them. So the project management software will keep track of all the costs. And by default, it's going to be money, but you could probably translate that in your mind, right, to some other value if you're doing like a classroom project and get meaningful numbers out of what it assigns to. But I guess you could relate it to scheduling software, but it has a little bit more than just making schedules and things like that. So a very useful one to look into, that's for sure. And that's just a few things I wanted to look at tonight, just some other software that list the foundational basics. We looked at a couple of them, but that's certainly not all our software, right? There's lots and lots of software out there, and there's a lot of others that will be very, very useful for you. So as always, it's an active subject. We learn by doing. So talk along those lines of thought is other software and things. Now is a good time to go click around on some of those things you've never used. Like if you've never used OneNote, I suggested that, or some of the personal information management software, Outlook or Evolution, or you can look into some other ones. Project management, that might be useful for you at some point. And some of the, so maybe for lab time tonight, that's going to be my suggestion. Find some software that you've never used. There's a lot of things in the Office suites, whether Microsoft Office or Google Office, that you've probably never used. So maybe go in there and try something you've never used before. Click around on it and see what you can figure out. Or, well, just in general, from now until 8:50 is when we're scheduled to be learning IT stuff. So please spend this time learning IT stuff. As always, I will be sitting here. I won't be sitting here. I'll keep my setup here. I'll be sitting in my desk in a more comfortable chair. But I will be right beside the computer, so that if you have any questions as you try out new software, that's my recommendation. Try a piece of software you've never used. Click around on it and see what you can figure out. If you have any questions, text messages and Ivy Learn messages make noise on my phone, and I can be back on the Zoom call in a couple seconds to address those questions. Otherwise, that was all I had for this evening. And next week's going to be similar. I've got some odds and ends in mind. I want to spend some time looking at graphics. There's a lot of different types of graphics, and at least a quick coverage of how we put those different types together. I want to spend a half an hour, 45 minutes on that at some point. And then I have a list of just odds and ends. But if you all have something in mind that you'd like me to cover, let me know, and I will put together a lecture for that. Otherwise, that was all I had for this evening. You all have a great weekend, and I will see you next week. And let me know if you have any questions.